Hello and welcome, I'm Raziel, and today I'm going to talk about the Ultramarines, the poster boys of 40k. They're chapters and successors of the Primarch with Bute Gilliman, the Blue Boys themselves, the Ultramarines. And how would you make these better? How would you make the most perfect chapter and the successors better? You know, the ones that are so good, the purest genes, they never lose, they never fail, they are so good. Well, let's talk about some other things first, because it will all tie in. Because if we talk about, the purest and honor and courageable, let's talk about the DC universe, and in particular, Superman. Superman is perfect. He's a perfect being. He cannot be shot. He cannot be killed. He is invulnerable. He is caring. He is all those good things, except he isn't perfect. He has weaknesses. He has flaws. He has issues, which makes him a better character. Now, we all know about Superman's biggest weakness, kryptonite. He also has a weakness to psychic powers, magic, and his own compassion. Now, I've always said, if I talk about Superman, his biggest weakness is his compassion for humans. He knows how powerful he is. He knows he can rule over. He does these good things because he knows how far he could go if he could just rule the planet. We've seen this within the Injustice comics, which is well worth reading if you like the game, by the way, because that does show the absolute opposite side where he loses his compassion. His compassion is a massive weakness to him, and he knows it. He knows it to a fault, and so does his enemies. That's why you'll see people like Lex Luthor, Starro, and all his other villains, such as Bizarro, attack cities. Why do they attack cities? Because Superman will be constantly on the back foot, more than if he was attacked by kryptonite, because constantly, and we read this in his comics, he will be thinking about the civilian casualties, the collateral damage. That will be always the forefront of his mind, which is why if you watch any of his films, you read any of his comics, you'll see he constantly tries to push the battle outside of a city, always out far away, even to the point of space, because he knows that's where less damage will happen and he can save more lives, and that's what makes Superman so good. That's why I think he makes him so good, because he does that. This being who's absolutely powerful, and yeah, he could pretty much one-shot all the Space Marines, I don't care, and the Primarchs. He wouldn't bat an eye at all, because there's nothing that would attack him. Nothing. He can literally bounce off tank shells off his chest. Lasers aren't an issue to him. Yeah, he's not gonna suffer. This guy can bench press the planet. Yeah, so Superman shows how to do the perfect being good in a fantastic way. Have him flawed, have him, with issues. And we see this again done well within the Loyalist chapters. Blood Angels is one of the best examples of a great heroic chapter who are courage, who are honourable, because they are deeply flawed with the Black Rage, and that makes them good. And if you ever get the chance, I will never not ever recommend this book, because this, if you read Le Martes by David Annandale, this shows exactly how the Black Rage works. It is a hallucination. They are not just, you see it, you've seen the memes. It's Horus this, Horus that. It's not Horus. They see them back on Terra. They see him fighting traitors. If you're not a Blood Angel or have a Blood Angel lineage, you will be seen as a traitor to them. They will not see you as you are. They will see you as a traitor back on Terra. Doesn't matter what planet you're on. Even if you're on a battle barge or out in space, that snaps, they're back on Terra. That's what they see. And they have to plan around that. Again, this is in the book of Le Martes. It's so good. It's such a great book. But Le Martes literally tells the Meridian Iron Guard, look, do not go down this flank. We're sending the Death Company down there. Do not go down that flank. And basically, Meridian Iron Guard, Cap General at the time, ignored him, lost almost an entire regiment of men by getting Mario jumped by Death Company with jump packs, and says, well, we didn't know what was happening, and Lamar said, we told you not to go down that way. We didn't have to tell you why, but we told you not to. This is your fault. I don't like that bit. I think that was a bit silly. It did kind of put it down on the book. And I can understand why the Blood Angels don't tell them why. It's just like, you should have listened. But we see this. And it goes even deeper, because Corbulo, how do you pronounce his name, is doing a different angle within the Black Death Company, rather than treat him as a physical ailment, we actually see him go through Lamarty's going through psychiatric care. Again, it shows a flaw within the Blood Angels and is being treated differently from what an apothecary would normally treat. It's not just wounds. This is a mental health issue that they're trying to fix, and he's trying a different route. And it's, like I said, it's a fantastic book. It adds a flaw to the Blood Angels, and it explains them great. It's good, right? Same with the Dark Angels. Dark Angels had a massive flaw with the Fallen. They would destroy, regiments and kill them to make sure that their secret wasn't announced. Why? Because it is a massive amount of shame to them. And yes, I'm not happy with redeeming them. I'm going to call them the Redeemed, because the Risen is a silly name. The Redeemed. And yeah, basically it's just turning the Dark Angels into green Ultramarines, so there will be no bad Dark Angels. No, they're not bad. They've fallen. They've realised their mistakes and they've redeemed themselves. These guys fought the Lion. They've actually attacked the Lion already. This isn't like with the Emperor's Children, who saw their demon Primarch, and then, of course, Clone Grim came back, and then suddenly they saw all their mistakes. They'd never attacked Fulgrim. They went back to what happened before their fall to Chaos. That's not what happened with Caliban. They attacked the Lion. Yes, it was Luthor lying to them. Yes, it was a few of them, but they still fell while the Lion was the Lion before he took his long nap. So the Fallen were a great flaw for the Dark Angels to explore, and it had them a weakness that they couldn't ignore. That could be used, and was used quite often by the Alpha Legion, to get the Dark Angels to attack what they wanted them to attack. A weakness can be used as a really good plot point for the enemy. Whereas, if you have no weaknesses, if you have no flaws, you have none of that, you kind of get boring. I've read books with these perfect heroes, and they always end up the same with me. I end up rooting for the bad guy, because he's the underdog. He's the weaker one. He's the one with the issues. He's the one that's got to think about how to beat his opponent. Anyone who's perfect doesn't have to think. He's going to win. And that's boring. Yeah, I have issues with Imperial Fist for the opposite reason, that they always get their ass handed to them. And the Ultramarines are the exact opposite. They never lose. Marneus Calgar, ripping off the head of a Lord of Skulls. Seriously. Why doesn't he just do that all the time? That just makes him so overpowered to that point that it's just stupid. He could just go up, rip. Why is there even a reason for any other Ultramarine? Just train them all up. You could have like 100 of them just trained up like old Marneus Calgar. And that's, that's it. Use his weapons. That's it. Yeah, I know they're relic weapons, they're ancient weapons, they can't be repeated, right? But you know what I mean. When you make them perfect, you kind of think, why is there so many of them at this point? Why does the Ultramarines have so many when we can see how good they are and how perfect they are, but they can't lose? This is why we don't have lots of Supermen within the DC universe. It's basically the same reason. Lots of Supermen would add no issues, because who would ever question them? Lex Luthor would probably just go, nope, I give up. I can't take on that many Supermen. That's why there's one, because it makes him special. But when you have thousands of them, when everyone's special, no one is. And that's what makes the Ultramarines better. And to make them better, they need to lose. They need to have flaws. They need to have issues. They need to face defeat. Even when, and this is the weirdest thing, even when Fulgrim defeated Robert Guilliman, they still won that space battle. Even when their Primarch fell, they won that space battle. The excuse given was that they were now more determined to fight. No, they won because they were Ultramarines. It was silly, and it always will be. I'd rather see a flawed chapter win than the perfect chapter win. A flawed chapter, even when they lose, will grow from that. They will learn from that. When you're perfect, you never learn. Good way of saying this is, if you always win, you never learn. If you always lose, you've never learned. And that's the case. They will never learn in defeat, because they're just too perfect. And yeah, I get it. GW wants them to be the poster boys, to be the good guys. Superman's the poster boy, but he loses. Superman got killed. He gets his butt handed to him quite often. He even got beaten by Batman. In canon, by the way, in the book of Hush, Batman beat Superman, literally laid a smackdown on him, using all his weaknesses, kryptonite, his compassion, basically everything to beat him. And in the end, it was actually very good. Read Hush, it's also a fantastic book. In the end, Batman actually got him to beat Poison Ivy's spell by putting Lois Lane at risk, knowing that he would not risk Lois Lane's life. Again, once his compassion has come into play, knowing someone that he cared about was in danger. That's it. Do that to an Ultramarine and go, oh, we'll save them both, and we'll beat Batman, then I'll save. It's like, Batman's like, yeah, you can't do both. You're going to have to choose one. Beat me, save Lois Lane. Using his compassion as a weakness. Anyway. That's my problem with the Ultramarines. They're being too perfect has issues within storytelling, and it makes them boring, dull, and not that much fun to be around. I liked them in the Horus Heresy because they weren't so boring. They did lose. The Word Bearers were quite handedly damaging them. The Alpha Legion infiltrated them. The Night Lords just went nuts across the Ultramark sector. They were losing, and it made them better because they had to learn from their mistakes and grow. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I did enjoy this one. Ultramarines are quite an interesting chapter when you actually dive into their faults and look a little bit deeper. And I'll see you all again soon. Link to Wayland Games down below, as always, if you wish to save money on your Warhammer, up to 20% off and free delivery off to £20. For Wayland Planet, if you like comics, DVDs, toys, plushies, movie stuff, anime, all that cool stuff as well. Clicking on those links supports the channel. It really does. There is Guy Ford, good friend of mine. He's a good friend of mine. I do give him some love as well. And finally, there is my merchandise, comics, DVDs, comics, t-shirts, stickers, cups, mugs, all that other stuff which everyone else does as well. And I'll see you all in the next one.